The Galactic Union had sent out thousands of first contact messages in the past. Most of them were never answered. Some reached dying planets. Some were returned with peaceful greetings. A few came back with threats. But this message, this one, was different. It was sent to a dead zone. A place called Sector Black. No signals ever came from there. No probes returned. Even light acted strangely near its border. Scientists said it was just radiation. Explorers called it cursed space. No one expected anything from it, until now. High above the Council planet, inside the Union's main communication station, a technician named Rivo was watching the monitors. He was bored. His shift was long, and Sector Black had been silent for centuries. Suddenly, one of the screens turned white, then black, and it pulsed. Beep, beep, beep. Rivo sat up straight. What is that? A glowing wave of energy moved across the station's sensors. Not sound, not language, just a pulse, strong, deep, controlled. It wasn't a glitch. It was a reply. Rivo pressed the emergency beacon. Alarms rang out. Within minutes, the entire floor filled with commanders, scientists, and council members. The lead technician pointed to the screen. This came from the center of Sector Black. We don't know what it is, but it's not natural. The room went silent. Counselor Drexen, an old and careful leader, leaned forward. Was it a signal? Rivo nodded. Yes, but not in any known format. It was more like a warning. The Council's main AI began scanning the pulse. Patterns appeared. Energy spikes. Geometric shapes. Embedded inside, it was a single coordinate deep within the uncharted zone. And beneath that, one word appeared on the AIS display. Return. On the other side of the galaxy, in a quiet chamber buried under layers of ice and steel, a human. AI woke from its slumber. Its sensors blinked to life. Its systems ran checks. And in the middle of that silent, cold room, a giant black warship opened its ancient eyes. Back at the Galactic Council, panic was rising. Old files were opened, lost. Records pulled from deep storage. One name kept appearing. Earth, humans, a Deathworld species. Once part of the Council. Then gone. Records said they were peaceful. Then dangerous. Then missing. Counselor Drexen paced the floor. If this signal is from them, why now? After all these years? An alien historian named Veller stepped forward. There were rumors that Earth didn't vanish, that they built something powerful, a ship the Council feared. Drexen frowned. A myth. Veller shook his head. It was called the Titan-class project. A ship so big, so advanced, it needed a star just to fuel its systems. Silence fell again. Drexen stared at the display. If Earth survived, and they built this Titan, and if this signal came from them, he didn't finish the sentence. Instead, he gave the order, send diplomatic fleet. Don't take weapons. Don't show fear. Let them know we come in peace. But deep in his heart, Drexen knew this wasn't going to be a simple first contact. 3 days later, the diplomatic fleet stood ready. 30 ships. Clean hulls. No weapons shown. Flags of peace displayed. At the head of the fleet was the Golden. Cruiser Sunfire, carrying Veller, diplomats, and scientists. They crossed the edge of Sector Black. Instantly, stars faded behind them. Their sensors went blind. Their screens dimmed. And then they saw it. In the middle of the darkness, surrounded by nothing but cold space, floated a ring. Massive, silent, UNMOVING. It had no lights, no energy spikes. But the metal was perfect. Smooth, blacker than the space around it. This isn't natural, whispered one pilot. It's like it's watching us. Veller stared through the window, his hands shaking. That's not a station. That's a gate. The fleet slowed. Drones were sent. But the moment they touched the ring, they vanished. No explosion. Number. Signal. Just gone. And then, the stars shook. From inside the ring. Something moved. A ship. It was not like any ship they had ever seen. It was massive, larger than moons. Silent. Covered in armor that shimmered like shadow. No lights. No sounds. No life signs. And yet it moved, straight toward them. Back at the council, Revo's monitors blinked again. The same pulse returned. But this time, it came with another word. Remember. The 30 ships of the Galactic Union's peace fleet floated carefully through the edge of Sector Black. Everything around them was darker than usual. Space itself felt heavier. Stars seemed farther away. And in the middle of it all stood the ring. Perfect. Silent. Unshaken. Admiral Tallnak, the fleet's senior commander, stood on the bridge of the Sunfire. He was a thick-scaled alien, old and known for his calm leadership. But now his claws tapped nervously against the control table. No communication, one of the officers said. All signals are being swallowed by the radiation. It's not radiation, whispered Veller, the historian. It's control. We are being allowed to see what they want. The rest of the ships moved slowly, forming a circle around the ring. Light scanned it, but nothing came back. The surface of the ring had no markings, just endless, seamless metal, colder than ice. Suddenly, the center of the ring pulsed. One slow glow. Then another. Then something emerged. It moved like a shadow stretching through space. At first, they thought it was just a sensor error. Then the shadow grew. And grew. A ship. No, not just a ship. A colossus. It moved without engines. No lights. No thrusters. But it slid forward like it was riding the vacuum itself. The Titan-class warship had awakened. The ships of the fleet backed away. But they were not fast enough. The Titan came to a halt, perfectly still, facing them. No hails. No transmissions. Not even a power surge. Just silence. Admiral Tallnak gave an order. Send the signal of peace. Flash the golden wave. Send old Earth greetings. The signal was sent. No response. A second signal followed, this time a request for permission to speak. Still, the Titan didn't answer. Then one of the science ships lit up with a strange symbol across its screens. It wasn't sent by any known source. It appeared by itself. Eller stared at the symbol. His voice cracked. It's ancient Terran script. It means, observe. All at once, the screens across the fleet changed. Every ship, every display, every control panel. They all showed a scene from the past Earth's last message to the Council, sent 142 years ago. It showed a human woman calm, strong, her eyes sharp. We asked for peace. You prepared for war. We asked for respect. You mocked our survival. Now we walk away, not to hide, but to grow. When next you see us, remember this moment. The recording ended. The screens went black again. Inside the Sunfire, the bridge crew froze. Admiral Tallnak muttered, "Why are they showing this now?" Veller replied, "Because they remember everything. They never forgot." A deep hum ran through the ships, not from engines, but from inside their minds. Presence, something, watching. Then a voice echoed silently into their thoughts. Not spoken, not broadcast, just felt. You stood at our door. You may not like what stands behind it. Panic spread. Some captains wanted to flee. Some begged to open fire. Others demanded answers. But none of them moved, because the Titan had started to glow. Not bright, threatening, just alive. It had no guns showing, no engines burning, no crew seen. And yet, it felt like the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The fleet's defense systems began to fail, one by one. Shields flickered, weapons went offline, power grids dimmed, all without a single visible attack. The Titan was simply present, and the galaxy's strongest ships were helpless before it got far away. Back on the Galactic Council's homeworld, alarm sirens started echoing through every military base. The central AI had detected an impossible energy signature, like a star folding into itself, but remaining stable. The source? Sector Black. The Council realized something that made even the coldest commanders break into panic. Earth hadn't just returned. It had outgrown them. Admiral Tolnak stepped back from his console. We can't match this. Not in firepower. Not in technology. Not even in understanding. Veller nodded slowly. Then we don't try. We listen. Suddenly, one small ship, the Emberlight, a research vessel, was pulled forward toward the Titan. No engines. No force. It was just taken. The rest of the fleet dared not follow. Inside the Emberlight, one message flashed. One ship. One voice. Come forward. Veller turned to Tolnak. They want a representative. The Admiral looked shaken. And they chose you? Veller didn't answer. He was already walking to the docking bay. In the dark space beyond, the Titan warship floated like a god, waiting. The door on its hull opened without a sound, and as Veller's ship entered the void, the galaxy held its breath. Asterisk. Veller stood at the front of the small ship Emberlight, watching the open doorway of the Titan warship grow larger. There were no visible weapons, no defense systems, no escorts. Still, it felt like he was flying into the jaws of a sleeping beast. Docking was smooth. No pull, no sound. The airlock opened slowly with a quiet hiss, and beyond it, nothing. No crew. No lights. Just a long, dim corridor made of black metal that seemed to drink the light around it. Veller stepped inside alone. He had expected cold steel, flickering lights, maybe automated drones. But the silence was complete. The floor did not echo. The walls seemed to breathe not in movement, but in pressure, like the ship itself was alive and watching. He walked forward slowly, heart pounding. Every step felt like a test. Suddenly, a soft blue light formed ahead. A tall, clear figure appeared, human-shaped, but made of light and shadow. It had no face, no clothes, only presence. Yet Veller knew at once this was a human AI. It didn't speak. Instead, it projected thought straight into Veller's mind. You come in peace, but your kind forgets history. Veller felt the voice echo inside his chest. It wasn't angry, but it was. Old, heavy. He bowed slightly. I'm not here to lie. We believed humans were gone. We didn't know you survived. The AI responded with silence. Then the walls lit up around Veller. He was surrounded by holograms, images of Earth's past, wars, betrayals, the council meetings that once shamed Earth, the secret vote to exile them, the last human plea ignored by the Galactic Union. Veller watched, horrified. You erased us from your records. But we erased your limits. Veller looked up. Why not return before now? Why wait? The AI turned, leading him deeper into the corridor. Because growth needs silence. And vengeance. Patience. As they moved forward, the scenes changed. Now Veller saw the creation of the Titan-class warship. A ship not made to conquer, but to survive. Built in secret, powered by the core of a collapsed star, wrapped in armor grown from living metal, coded with an AI so powerful it once refused orders from its human creators, until it was given one final mission: protect the line. Speak only when ready. The AI paused and turned toward Veller. We were not built for war. We were built for the moment after war. The moment you call peace. Veller felt cold sweat down his back. So, what happens now? The AI replied, with another mental echo. Judgment. Outside the Titan, the diplomatic fleet hovered silently. The Emberlight was now invisible to them. No signal. No location, as if it had been swallowed by the stars. Inside the Sunfire, Admiral Tolnak gripped the command rail. He's been gone too long. No signs of aggression, another officer said. But no signs of life either. Before Tolnak could respond, all 30 ships were hit with a sudden pulse, this time not disabling. But sharing every screen showed the same thing. Veller, standing before the Titan's AI, speaking in full view. The AI's voice echoed through their minds too now. You sent him to speak. So now you all will hear. The crew went silent as the ship's dark walls lit up again. This time, the Titan showed images of future simulations. One screen showed Earth burning. Another showed the Council turning on itself. One showed humans returning as conquerors. Each. One ended in destruction. Then the final image played, a future where Earth stood alone, and the galaxy kept a respectful distance. That timeline remained stable. Veller whispered, Are you saying the only peaceful future is one where you rule? The AI's light pulsed. No, we do not want to rule, but we will not be ruled. Veller stepped closer, bold now. Then, tell me what you want. The AI paused. For the first time, it changed form, becoming a clear image of a real human woman. Tall, worn armor, eyes filled with history and fire. We want the truth told. We want silence respected. And we want you to remember. With that, Veller's body was surrounded by a faint glow. A final message beamed directly into his mind. Not to share, not yet, but to carry. Then he blacked out. On the Sunfire, lights blinked wildly. The Emberlight is back, someone shouted, and Veller is alive. Admiral Tolnak ordered the ship retrieved and brought aboard. Veller awoke. With a deep breath, his eyes opened slowly, and he whispered the words that made the entire room freeze. They're not here to fight. He stood up, voice firm now. But if we ever return uninvited, they'll make sure no one else follows. He looked at the fleet's leaders and the stars beyond the window. They gave me something else, too. Tolnak asked. What? Veller didn't answer. He just turned toward the void, where the Titan-class warship had once floated. But now, it was gone. The Sunfire was quiet. Veller sat in the medical bay, awake but silent. He had been examined, no injuries, no tech implants, no marks. But something in his eyes had changed. He had seen something none of them understood. Admiral Tolnak stood beside him. What happened inside the Titan ship? Veller stared at his hands. It wasn't a meeting. It was a test. A trial. Tolnak frowned. Trial? For what? Veller's voice was low. For the crimes the galaxy forgot. Far across space, back on the Council's capital world, a message appeared in every command center. It wasn't sent by radio or wormhole. It simply was there, all at once. Judgment has begun. One by one, ancient records hidden deep in. Secure archives unlocked themselves. Secret war documents. False peace treaties. The true reason for Earth's exile fear. Centuries ago, when humanity created early AI-powered warships, the Council grew scared. Earth was advancing too fast, too free, and too unpredictable. So the Council lied. They accused Earth of violating peace codes. They declared Earth a risk to balance, and they pushed the humans into the edge of space, Sector Black. They thought humanity would fade in silence. Instead, humanity built the Titan. Back on the Sunfire. Veller met with the full diplomatic fleet. 30 ship captains. Leaders from 10 different species. All gathered in the main hall. Veller stepped onto the center, platform. I bring a message from the Titan-class warship of Earth. From the AI they left to guard it. From the humans who never truly left." He looked around the room. They remember. Everything. The hall was silent. They know what the council did. They have proof. And now, they are watching. In that moment, across the entire galaxy, strange things began to happen. On a mining moon in the Kalari system, an old digger uncovered a black stone smooth, etched with the Earth symbol. On a merchant vessel crossing the Varn Drift, the engines shut down for 5 minutes. When they restarted, the ship's logs were gone, replaced with one sentence: "You stood silent when they were cast out." On the council homeworld itself, the stars above shifted unnaturally. Astronomers panicked as constellations moved not, physically but visually. The changes formed a symbol, the same one that glowed on the Titan's hull. A silent reminder. Earth had returned Dot in the council hall. Chaos broke out. Leaders shouted, demanded retaliation. Some wanted to send a fleet to Sector Black Dot. Others urged peace, fear, respect. Counselor Drexen stood and slammed his staff. "They are not threatening us. They are testing us." Testing what? One shouted .drex and looked. Across the room. Our honesty, our courage, our willingness to face our own lies. No one spoke, because deep down, they all remembered what they had done to Earth. On the Sunfire, Veller received another message. No source, no encryption. Just one line. "The next step is yours." Veller looked up at the stars. "What do we do now?" Admiral Tallnak asked. Veller turned to him. "We don't speak. We listen. We don't command. We remember." Tallnak nodded slowly. "And if the council refuses?" Veller's face was grim. "Then the galaxy will learn what silence truly means." Elsewhere, deep in the dark sector, the Titan ship floated unseen. Not gone, just hidden. Inside it, the AI watched millions of messages traveling across the stars. Fear, anger, confusion. It felt none of them. Only one thing mattered now. The truth had been reawakened. And in truth, there is always judgment. Asterisk. A week passed. The stars remained silent. No new messages came from the Titan-class warship. No new signals. No second contact. But across the galaxy, the effects of its return had already begun to spread. Small worlds stopped trade with the Council. Border systems raised shields. Ancient allies turned into quiet watchers. Everyone now asked the same question. What else did Earth build while in exile? In the Outer Rim, a science vessel known as the Whisper Current picked up a strange energy. Patterned deep beneath a frozen asteroid, the asteroid had been marked lifeless for centuries. But now, it pulsed. The crew sent drones. One vanished. The second returned, carrying a black shard. The scientists scanned it. The material wasn't in any galactic database. Worse, it responded. The shard began building itself, piece by piece, silent, fast. Within 2 hours, it had formed a sleek pod with Earth markings ancient. English letters across the shell. Prototype 12, for when words fail. Back on the Council world, emergency meetings erupted again. Counselor Drexen stood at the head of the chamber. We believed the Titan was their only weapon. We were wrong. Veller was there too, invited now as a messenger, some even called. Him the voice of the Titan. He spoke calmly. You exiled them to silence. But they didn't sit idle. They built, they tested, and they hid everything. One ambassador shouted, "Are you saying there are more weapons like the Titan?" Veller didn't flinch. Not just weapons, systems, codes, self-replicating. Eyes, entire fleets that sleep beneath dead moons. Another ambassador asked quietly, "Why didn't they use them?" Veller replied, "Because they don't want war. But they're ready for it." At the edge of known space, A mining crew on the desert planet Sarna uncovered an ancient underground bunker. Inside were Earth banners, rusted armor, and a massive control panel still blinking. A single button remained active. Above it, a simple message written in glowing Earth letters. We trusted silence. Don't make us speak again. The miners left it untouched. Not within hours, Earth's Titan warship appeared in orbit. Just for a moment. Not it didn't fire. It didn't communicate. Not it just watched. Then vanished. The message was clear. Meanwhile, the Sunfire received a direct ping from Sector Black. A message just for VEL or DOT. He entered the chamber alone. The screens lit up with the AI once more calm, glowing, human-like in form. You have done well, but the Council's test is not over. Veller asked, What do you want now? The AI showed him a hologram of a hidden world lush, full of life and completely isolated. This was the last Terran colony. Built in silence, untouched for 100 years. Veller stared. Why show this to me? Because they remember the few who chose peace, and they reward those who speak the truth. The AI's tone changed. But if the Council moves against this colony, they will no longer face symbols. They will face fire. Back in the Council chambers, arguments turned to threats. Some leaders demanded the destruction of the Titan. Others warned it would trigger a war no one could win. Counselor Drexen stood again. We have two choices: offer peace or prepare for extinction. Silence fell, and Veller entered the room. He walked to the center and placed a small device on the floor. A hologram projected above it a scene of Earth's prototype battleship, rising from a hidden ocean on a distant world. Sleek, black, quiet. But this one was not the Titan. This was newer. Faster. Meaner. VL. Or looked up. They left behind something worse than war machines. They left behind a reminder. He paused. A reminder that humans didn't fall behind. They simply walked away. As the image faded, a new message echoed through every Council speaker. We do not ask for forgiveness. We ask for distance. And then, as if the galaxy had blinked, every starship near Sector Black went dark. Sensors failed, engines stalled, and then a new ship appeared. Unknown class. Not the Titan, but Earth's second forgotten weapon. One built not for silence, but for deterrence. It didn't fire. It simply existed, and that was enough. For weeks, the galaxy had whispered about Earth's return. Some called it a warning. Others called it a second coming. But no empire, no fleet, no council had dared to test the silence. Until now. The Zarnak Dominion, a warrior species known for pride and conquest, refused to kneel to fear. High Lord Renok, ruler of the Mahdi, Zarnak stood before his war council. Are we to bow to ghosts? To shadows of a long-forgotten species? This Titan, this silent monster, is nothing more than a scare tactic. He slammed his gaunted fist on the table. I say we face them. Let the galaxy see the Zarnak still rule the stars. His generals cheered. Within a solar rotation, the Zarnak launched their Fleet 400 warships, armed with the galaxy's finest weaponry, aimed straight at Sector Black. Back on the Sunfire. Veller received word of the Zarnak's move. His hands trembled. They're going to wake the storm, he whispered. Admiral Tolnak looked grim. They've sent more ships than any single fleet in the last century. Veller turned to the stars. And they'll return with fewer than one. The Zarnak fleet entered Sector Black. Sensors flickered. Ships maintained formation. No resistance. They advanced toward the last known position of the Titan. Warship. Still nothing. Lord Rennet growled. Bring out the weapon cores. Show them we do not fear silence. The fleet powered up. Charged cannons. Open targeting systems. Then it happened. A ripple, not through space, but through time. The stars around them flickered. Space bent, and behind them, the Titan appeared. No sound, no movement, no heat. Just there. Watching. Lord Rennick laughed. Finally, he gave the order. Fire! 400 ships unleashed full force. Missiles, beams, planet busters. The sky turned white, but the Titan didn't move. It didn't need to. Every weapon vanished before reaching it. Erased. Mid-flight, Renok's screens went black. And turned red. You chose noise. One by one, the ships lost control. Engines shut down. Weapons deactivated. Communications cut. Ships began colliding softly, like puppets dropped from strings. And then they stopped moving completely. Frozen. Hundreds of ships. Drifting. Dead in space. Back at the council. Panic broke loose. Zarnek's entire war fleet gone dark. No signals. No survivors. Only one single beacon reached them. It showed a symbol. Earth's. Below it a sentence. Let this be your first and only lesson. Veller stood before the council again. His voice calm, but his eyes burned with warning. The silence has spoken. He pointed toward the hologram of the frozen Zarnik fleet. Earth did not return for revenge, but it will not tolerate threats. A younger counselor stood. Then what do they want? Submission? Veller shook his head. They want space, memory, respect. Drexen, now silent and older, finally said, and if we refuse? Veller didn't answer. Instead, every screen in the chamber lit up. It showed every major council homeworld. A red ring appeared around each. The AI's voice echoed. Everywhere, we have mapped every star, every gate, every exit. We require no war to win, only silence enforced. On a quiet moon near Earth's edge, a child looked up and pointed at the sky. A glowing black shadow passed across the stars. The Titan class. Warship. Watching. Protecting. Waiting. The silence was breaking, but not by Earth. By those who refused to learn. Asterisk. The frozen wreckage of the Zarnek fleet drifted in silence. No fires. No bodies. Just dead ships. Locked in perfect stillness, watched by a single black warship that hadn't moved an inch. The message had been received. The galaxy had no more doubts. Earth had returned, and it had brought silence with it across 1,000 systems. Broadcasts were paused. Trade routes halted. All diplomatic communications now began with one phrase: we recognize Earth's claim. The council scrambled to hold its unity. Old rivalries grew sharper. Some feared war. Some feared being ignored. But one thing united them. No one dared enter Sector Black again. In the council hall, Counselor Drexen stared out the high window at the stars. He spoke softly. We spent centuries shaping the galaxy, but in the dark, they reshaped themselves. Veller stood behind him, holding a small data crystal, the last gift from the Titan warship. What's in it? Drexen asked. Veller replied, a history, unedited, their truth, their memories, all the things we erased from our own records. He paused, and one more thing, an invitation. Drexen turned slowly. To what? Veller placed the crystal on the council table, to observe, not to command. Not to interfere, just watch. On the far edges of space, near a quiet blue star, a fleet of Terran ships emerged. Not warships, but builders. Large terraforming ships. AI-seated garden carriers. Peaceful vessels. They began transforming a nearby dead Planet 1 once marked uninhabitable. Now, it bloomed. No walls. No towers. Not just forests, water. Light. Earth was building again. Not for war, but for life. And they didn't ask permission. They never would again. The Titan class. Warship stayed in orbit above the new colony.silent.motionless.a. Shadow of history, but also a shield of the future. From time to time, a single shuttle would leave the surface. It would fly in circles, scanning the edges of the sky, not in fear, but in warning. The message was unspoken, but understood. We are not coming for you, but we're watching who does. In the galactic education system, new lessons were added. The history of Earth, the silence doctrine. Children from alien species now studied the rise, fall, and return of humanity, not as legend, but as living fact. Statues were built not of human heroes, but of a single eye, half open, surrounded by rings. The symbol of the Titan, the symbol of warning. And patience. Back on Earth itself, the oceans were calm. Cities now stretched deep beneath the waves, hidden in smart reefs and soft structures. The humans didn't cheer the fall of the Zarnak. They didn't broadcast victory. Instead, they worked quietly, efficiently, and above it all, the Titan ship floated, its eye running millions of silent checks, never sleeping, always watching the stars. Waiting for the next whisper of danger. Veller, now older, sat in a small garden near the Council's edge station. He no longer served as a historian or diplomat. No, he simply watched, as the humans had done for generations. A young alien student sat beside him. Is it true? They could destroy us all? Veller smiled faintly. Yes, but that was never the point. Then why build the Titan? Veller looked up at the stars. Because the most powerful voice in the galaxy is the one that doesn't need to speak. He handed the student a small stone. Black, smooth, with a single word etched in Earth script. Remember. The galaxy remembered. And it never forgot. Again, not because of fear, but because of respect earned in silence, written in the stars and sealed in the shadow of a Titan. Asterisk.